She's the leading lady of the production of Guys and Dolls at Her Majesty's Theatre, Nancye Hayes.
Thank you, Stuart. What a nice introduction.
I mean it. It's been a fascinating career. A lot came early, then there was a bit of a sag in the middle, now it's right up there again.
Yes.
You played, your first real break, as I recall, came when you were understudying in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, understudying a woman called Betty somebody from America.
Betty Maguire.
And she left and you took over the role of...
Hedy LaRue.
Hedy LaRue. Now, to me, Hedy LaRue is the prototype of what you're playing now.
Exactly, and funnily enough, written by Frank Lesser and Abe Burrows.
Same people.
How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, another wonderful show.
That was the skeleton of Adelaide was in that, wasn't it?
It certainly is, and I suppose it was that they saw a comedy in me that lent itself to that style of work that gave me such an immediate break so early in my career.
There's always been a comedy in you. I remember when you were 18, I guess, as a young ballet girl in My Fair Lady, there'd be screams of laughter coming from the ballet room where you were carrying on.
That was different, though, than doing it on the stage. Yes. I was rather reluctant to do it on stage.
You were very shy down on stage level, but in the dressing room you were quite the gal, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved those days. I mean, it was a great tour, and to start out in a show like My Fair Lady.
That was your very first show?
Very first, and it was an enormous start. I always say that when I speak to the younger actors and actresses coming up, what an opportunity it was to have the discipline of a show like My Fair Lady.
Yes, because it was
And the glamour.
It was glamorous. It was a tough prompt corner running, wasn't it? Ian Roberts kept us all in trim.
He certainly did. I can remember him saying to me, because I was so thrilled to be there,
yes,
"You don't have to work that hard, dear." The eyes and the teeth were going and the feet were up round the knees, because it was just a terrific show to do.
It was. People talk about you still and they remember Sweet Charity. And I've always had a feeling that Sweet Charity was probably too early for you. You got your big chance too young.
Looking back, it was, and extraordinarily enough, it is now on Broadway again, of course, with Debbie Allen.
Yes.
And when I think about Sweet Charity, I'd love to have another go at it.
You're the right age for it now.
Exactly.
You see, she was, well, you're not passé by any means, you look great, but she was marginally over the hill.
And that was really what the pathos of the ending was,
right,
that
but
this
you
girl
were
had
a
lost.
vibrant young girl, you could have got anybody.
Oh, well, thank you, Stuart.
We weren't going to your private life, whether indeed you did or not. But now, you're really a musical comedy girl, but of late you've been doing a lot of serious drama, particularly what was the political series?
The Dismissal.
The Dismissal.
And also The Last Bastion.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that experience very much. And last year I played Amanda Wingfield in The Glass Menagerie for Melbourne Theatre Company.
That was quite it. Now again, you're always doing things too early. You see, Sweet Charity was too early. You're a bit too young for Amanda Wingfield,
well,
aren't you?
I was rather surprised, but Ray Lawler really was a wonderful director on that, and I know it stretched me enormously, and I do like the challenge of things like that. But I agree with you, I felt rather overcome by the experience, but it worked out very well, very successfully.
Both Gertrude Lawrence and Catherine Hepburn played it well into their 50s, I imagine, which you've got a day or two to go yet.
And Lorette Taylor, the original lady, of course. Yes.
Now, tell me about Guys and Dolls. It's doing well?
It's doing very well. We're having a wonderful season in Sydney. I adore it, and I hope it's going to end, of course.
When does it end?
We finish August the 16th. As far as I'm concerned, it could go on forever, because roles like Adelaide don't come along every day.
It's a sad thing that's got to end, because it's doing well. You could run longer, I guess, but the theatre's booked.
The theatre is booked.
You see, that's that damn Cats. Cats is keeping shows out of Sydney because it's got one theatre totally trapped.
And they're doing so well with that, of course. But,
now, when Guys and Dolls started in Adelaide and then moved to Melbourne, there were a lot of rumours about it not doing terribly well, that it was creaking a bit.
Well, there's a lot of theories. I mean, we hold postmortems in this business like people do, I suppose, everywhere, but it concerns us more at the time. Her Majesty's hadn't been open for a number of years. Well,
in Melbourne.
In Melbourne.
Yes.
That new arts centre is gorgeous. It's being used by the Victorian public, and they're enjoying it, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But now it was amazing, even to get into taxi cabs, people didn't know where Her Majesty's was.
Really?
And I was appalled, because theatrically, one grew up on Exhibition Street with the comedy and the princess and everything. But I think it's just a turnabout time in Melbourne. Also, we did fantastic business on the weekends, but it was earlier in the week.
So it wasn't the show?
No, we had, if you'd have been there on a Saturday night, you'd have said this show is going to run forever.
Yes.
But we come Monday to Thursday, and of course the percentage over the board, and those productions are very expensive.
Very expensive, big show.
So that they have to do a certain percentage per week to keep it buoyant.
What would you like to do next? I mean, it's much harder work, I presume, doing musical than a play. Well, I know it is. If you had your choice, what would you like to do next, a play or a musical?
I always lean to the musicals, but I'd really like to do a little more television. I'd really like to do a situation comedy, but it's getting the writing, of course, and getting the opportunity, being asked to do it.
Why do you want to do that? So you can stay at home, not have to live out of a suitcase for so long?
Well, I've been on tour for 18 months, and I have a nice apartment in Sydney that I hardly get a chance to sit there and look at the harbour. Before that, you were touring with Stepping Out? Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It's our life, though, isn't it? Because in Australia there's no Broadway or West End. We've got to tour all the time if we're doing a play.
That's true. And I love to go around because the friends that I made over the years of touring, it's lovely to get back to see them all in the various states. And I know my way around, certainly around all the cities of Australia.
And when you're on tour, do you keep up your dancing training? Do you go to class?
Yes. I usually take classes.
Betty Pounder in Melbourne and others elsewhere?
Elsewhere. Or I take a class for the company, or various company members will give classes for the other
Which keeps you in trim.
Which does, and I love to dance, and while I can do it, I certainly will keep going.
And what's next for you, do you know?
Not at the moment, a holiday. A holiday, first of all.
You're going away?
Yes, I'll go and have my usual busman's holiday and see the shows in London and New York.
Yes. Do you have friends there that you're going to stay with or see or catch up?
Oh, yes.
Do you do class there?
I do. I go well up the back because I always feel, oh dear, look at those fantastic dancers. But the process of continuing to learn, I think, is what one must keep in mind in this business.
Well, I mean, once you cease to do that, you stop improving, obviously.
That's right.
And that's true of all of us. Yes. We have to keep...
And there really is no limit to what you can do.
Even today, Olivier still takes voice lessons daily, or does voice exercises daily.
That's right. Well, we do a warm-up every day with the company.
Sure.
That's compulsory.
You're a great fan of some of the great dancers, like Sid Charisse and so forth?
Sid Charisse, Shirley MacLaine, of course. I'd love to have an act like Shirley MacLaine, except she's done all my numbers.
Sid Charisse you can see tomorrow lunchtime with Rock Hudson in a film called, what's it called? I've suddenly forgotten. Something of the Gods. Twilight of the Gods. So, Nancye, I'll tell our audience about that. Thank you for coming and talking to us. I hope the rest of the run of Guys and Dolls is equally successful, and that whatever you do next is wonderful. I know it will be.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you. Good to see you. And thank you for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow for Twilight of the Gods. Goodbye.